Hi, Cathy Madeo here, back with another video. This one, a beginner yoga class. If you're brand new to yoga or you just want to refine your alignment and your postures, this class is for you. We will be using some props, so if you have anything around that is like 2 blocks, you could get creative around the house, and a blanket. Let's get started. We'll get started in a cross-legged seated posture known as Tsukasana or easy seat. I want you to take your block, whether or not you think you need it, or a pillow or cushion, and sit up on it, because ultimately we want the knees lower than the waist. So you'll cross at your shin bones and flex your feet and place your feet somewhere close to underneath your knees. And then from there, we'll bring the hands to gently rest on tops of our legs. And before we close our eyes, let's just find some nice alignment here. So if you gently press your hands into your legs, you'll feel a lengthening through your spine. That's called axial extension. So you want to focus, when we say reach the crown of your head up, that's the purpose of that, to find a lot of length and kind of decompression throughout the spinal column. So gently press into the legs, reach the crown of your head up, and you can close down your eyes here if you haven't already. And as you close your eyes, you might notice a subtle shift or transition. Maybe the sounds around you get more intense, or you can feel the prop underneath your seat with a little bit more intensity. And so what we're doing is just making that shift into being aware or being mindful. And we'll use this awareness, this mindfulness throughout our practice today, so that we begin to move with more intention to ultimately come into alignment and find freedom in our body. We'll take a few more moments here. Just if any thoughts are coming up, let them come up, and you can watch them and just let them pass by. Bring your awareness to your breath. Just gently watch your breath come in and out through your nose with your mind's eye. You might notice just taking a couple minutes here in what we call centering perhaps calms you. It's triggering your parasympathetic nervous system so you can feel a little bit more relaxed. We'll bring our hands into Anjali Mudra, so you'll press the fingers together, the thumbs together. Take the backs of your thumbs and press them into your sternum and lift the crown of the head up a little bit more. We'll take an inhale in, and exhale, you can bow in. And we'll release our hands, gently open up our eyes, and we'll come off of our prop and come into Child's Pose, known as Balasana. So your knees are wide, big toes touch. You'll walk your hands out in front of you. Hands are wider than your shoulders. And release your upper trap muscles so that you feel space in between your shoulders and your ears. And just breathe here, continuing to create that mindful awareness in your body. And feel a stretch perhaps in your low back and hips. Wherever you're tightest, you'll feel generally the most. We'll take another breath here. And we'll walk our hands back and bring our knees together in thunderbolt. And if this is an uncomfortable position, you can sit right up on your block. So we'll be using props throughout, and I'll always use the prop for you so you can see how to use it. And we'll bring our arms out in front of us, nice straight arms, make a tight fist, and just circle your hands. So people don't often realize how much weight bearing we do on our hands in yoga, switch directions. And if you've never done that before, you usually don't have the strength to be able to bear the weight of your body, so it's important to condition your wrists. We'll take Starbursts, so you'll flick the fingers out from the palms and then make that tight fist and flick. And we'll do this a few more times, and we'll go a little bit faster. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we'll take one more round of stretches here. You'll have your right hand, your palm facing forward, and you'll pull your fingers back, the 4 fingers, and you can circle out the right thumb in one direction and then switch. And then we'll do the opposite. So we'll stretch now the top of the hand, the wrist, and the forearm. And we'll just simply switch. So left wrist extends, we'll pull the fingers back, circle out the left thumb in one direction, then the opposite direction, fingertips down, get a nice stretch there. We'll shake it out, and we'll come into tabletop. And if your knees feel sensitive, you can place a blanket right underneath your knees, which I'll do. So shoulders right above the wrists, knees hips distance apart. We'll take some cat-cows. So you'll allow your belly to drop, bring your shoulder blades together, and gaze upward. On your exhale, flex your spine. So this is our cat stretch. Bring your chin into your chest. You'll notice the pelvis tucks under. And we'll continue on here. So inhale, pull the chest through. Extend your spine, use your exhale to flex your spine. Push the floor away with your hands. We'll take 2 more. Inhale and exhale. You're riding the wave of your breath. So you're using your whole inhale to do the movement and the whole exhale into that cat stretch. And we'll come to a neutral spine and take some dancing lions. So we're basically just doing big circles. This is great to get the synovial fluid going in the shoulder and hip joint as we circle around. And we'll switch directions here. We'll meet back in our tabletop position, and we'll take balancing tabletop. So first we'll curl the right toes under and straighten the leg, and just rock back and forth here. You'll get a nice stretch of your calf and your Achilles heel. And we'll find that neutral position. Lift your right leg up, but keep your outer hip closed. So we're not opening here, we're closing it. And shift your weight to your right hand, and you'll stretch your left arm forward. Make sure your left thumb is pointing up. That will keep the upper arm bone in a healthy rotation here. And we're just holding. This is like a classic core exercise, so good. So trying to keep the front ribs down. And we'll exhale, release, and we'll switch sides. Left toes curl under. We'll just start by rocking forward and back. And we'll come to our starting position here and lift the left leg up. We'll flex the left foot, weight shifts to your left hand, reach your right arm forward. So your neck is nice and long, nice neutral spine here as we hold. The heel doesn't need to go any higher than the hip. Same with your right wrist, doesn't need to go any higher than the right shoulder. Another breath. And we will release. We'll sit back on our heels for a moment. You can move the blanket out from underneath you. We'll just circle the wrists here for a moment, and then we'll dive right into our downward facing dog. So hands come a little bit more forward than they were in your tabletop. Curl your toes under, lift your hips up, and press your chest back. Now you might be inclined to want to straighten your legs and round your low back, but I'd rather have you bend your knees a little bit so you can keep the pelvis tilted forward and the low back drawing in. So that's a better positioning than straightening your legs and rounding your low back. So just let your knees bend a little bit, it's okay. And then as far as your shoulders go, you want to roll the upper arm bones away from your ears, but elevate the shoulders so you're pushing the floor away a little bit with your hands so you'll feel your side body lengthen. Now we can pedal out our dog. So straighten your left leg. Again, you're just getting a nice stretch here through the calf and Achilles heel, and switch directions. From here, we will come forward into our plank pose. So feet can be hips distance apart. Your shoulders are right over your wrists. If you are hyperextending your elbows and those crease of the elbows are pointing forward, I want you to slide them in towards each other instead. And we'll just hold here for a moment, building some strength in our core. Hips in line with shoulders, legs nice and strong. From here, we'll drop the knees down, but it's not tabletop, it's a modified plank pose. And I want you to shift your shoulders over your wrists a little bit, hug your elbows in as you bend them. Keep your neck nice and long, going through chaturanga. See if you could hold this a beat. And we'll come all the way down onto our bellies, but keep the shoulders up and lifted for our Cobra Pose. You'll notice the elbows are bent and all 10 knuckles are grounding down. Actively press the tops of your feet into the mat. And we'll release the chest down, but keep the shoulders lifting. Curl your toes under, push up through that modified plank, and press back to downward facing dog. So that was basically a modified vinyasa with our knees down, and we'll take that throughout today's practice. Come up high into your tippy toes. You can walk to the front. Now you'll grab your 2 blocks for a forward fold. And similar to our downward facing dog, it's better to have a bend in your knees and keep the pelvis tilting forward and use the blocks underneath your hands. The blocks have different levels, right? Then having your legs straight and rounding your low back. So we won't be doing this today. We'll be right here. Again, you can have your blocks as high as needed. Couple breaths here. Press into the blocks for a halfway lift. So legs can straighten now as you lengthen the spine. We'll exhale, fold, soft bend in those knees. Inhale to rise. Reach your arms all the way up. And exhale, mountain pose. We'll take a half sun salutation. We'll take 2 of them. Reach your arms up on an inhale. As you exhale, softly bend your knees. Make sure your pelvis is tilting forward, hands on the blocks. Inhale, halfway lift, get a long spine. Exhale, fold, bend your knees gently. Inhale to rise, arms up. Exhale, mountain pose. That's our half sun sal. Let's do that one more time. Inhale up. Exhale, fold, bending the knees gently, spine nice and long as you inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold, hips right over heels. Inhale up, Urdhva Hastasana, that's our upward salute, and exhale to mountain pose. So we'll stand nice and tall in our mountain pose, feet hips distance apart, palms face forward to keep the chest nice and open. And think of that axial extension, so reach the crown of your head up, so you're creating lots of space through the spine, and that space is where the prana, the life force, is able to flow through us as we keep that space through the spine. We'll take another breath here, strong legs. Now heel toe your feet together and inhale your arms up, widen them apart just a little bit, and you can even turn the pinky side of the finger in a little bit, and we'll bend the knees for chair pose. And I'm having you keep your arms wide here because if you're newer to yoga, we can often have a lot of shoulder stuff going on. And if this is uncomfortable, you can even just keep your hands in prayer. So this is also known as like awkward pose because it's like you're about to sit into a chair but someone's taking it away from you. It's not quite a squat. You're creating these like V shapes with your body, with the legs and the torso. And your pelvis is in a neutral position, but that's going to be tilted a little bit more forward because of the position, because of the bend in the knees. We'll take another couple breaths. Maybe you could sink an inch deeper, keep the weight going back towards your heels. We'll inhale, arms up, and exhale, forward fold. Catch those blocks. You can heel toe your feet hips distance apart. Inhale, halfway lift. Shift your weight to your right foot, step your left foot back. Now slide the blocks with you, and we're going to drop the back knee down for a low lunge. So again, you can pad your back knee. And walk your hands up to your thigh. Reach the sternum up and reach your arms up. This is our low lunge position. Breathing here. Continue to reach the crown of the head up. And your gaze, which is called your drishti in yoga, is just past your nose. Take a breath here. Now we'll twist over to the right as the right arm goes behind us and the left arm comes forward. And now take your left hand down and we'll move into this twist in this direction so the right arm reaches up and the left shoulder rolls away from the ear. As you exhale, you'll catch the block with your right hand, curl your back toes under, walk the blocks forward for that halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Remember, bend the knees softly. Inhale, halfway lift, and we're just switching sides. So weight shifts to the left foot, back toes ground down, drop your back knee. Blocks come back. Lift the sternum up. Inhale, reach your arms up. Deep breaths. So I always say, like, yoga is like what you put into it. So beginner doesn't necessarily have to be easy. If you're really kind of embodying the postures, listening to my words, trying to find that alignment, you might be working here, even in these basic postures. A couple more breaths. We'll use our exhale to twist. As we take our twist, we're using the obliques here to turn just the chest, not the hips. And we'll take the right hand down to the block, and we'll twist now here. So a lower twist with the right hand down. We'll circle the left hand down and around. Take those blocks with us. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. You can set the blocks to the side. We're going to step back to a plank pose. You can remove the blanket or you can even leave it there. Take a breath here and inhale. Drop your knees down. Use your exhale to bend the elbows. So keep your hips and the core and your shoulders in the same diagonal line. So the hips don't need to dump down as you inhale right into your Cobra Pose and the pelvis comes down, the chest stays lifted. As you exhale, bend the arms slightly and move back through to your downward facing dog. Take a breath here. Good. Now we're going to step the right foot forward, but most people can't when they're new to yoga. It might look something like this, right? But if we take those two blocks and we start to use them underneath our hands, we'll get a lot more lift. So let's check that out. As we have the blocks underneath our hands in about the medium setting, we could sweep the right leg up, exhale, bring it in towards the chest, place your foot. We'll keep the right block here. We'll keep the blocks here actually, and spin your back heel down and just pause here for a moment. Look at your back foot. Climb your hands up to the right thigh, and we'll open up the arms here into Warrior Two. So what you want to do here is avoid this kind of dipping down and hiking up of the left hip. So drop the left hip down, engage your outer left hip muscle, and then widen the right knee to the right. It will start pointing forward, and we're starting to open the hips here in our Warrior Two. The arms reach one away from the other. From here, we'll bring the right forearm to the right thigh and sweep the left arm up and over for extended side angle. You can gently push the forearm into the thigh, so you're not dumping down, you're pushing, and scoop the outer right hip under. Now, if you feel like you can, you could bring your hand to your block. So going just a little bit deeper. Inhale up, take the block back a little bit. We'll heel toe the back foot in. We're preparing for triangle pose. So now the front leg will stay straight, and your front heel is lined up to your center back foot arch. You'll reach forward, get lots of length here. So you're hinging through the hips, not the waist. So keep your side body nice and long and take the fold at the right hip crease. And you can place your hand on your block here. Reach the left arm up. Both shoulder blades are staying neutral on the back as you open the chest to the side. Gaze can come up. Take a breath here. Now begin to bend your front leg. We'll take the left hand down. You can catch hold of the block, spin the back heel off the mat, reset your blocks, and we'll step it back to downward facing dog using our blocks, and we'll switch sides. So the left leg can lift. Exhale, place it in between your hands, spin your back heel down and around, and press firmly through the outer edge of your back heel. You're looking for your left heel and right arch to be in the same line. Lift up, begin to open up your arms. You can bring them to your hips for a second to find this hip alignment. This is where we like kind of discover our tightness here. So really engage the outer hip muscles and then widen the left knee to the left until it's pointing forward. So basically your chest is kind of pointing to the side, but the energy of the pose is moving forward like a lunge. Take another breath or two here, really feeling this pose, feeling the hips opening. And we'll place our left forearm on the left thigh. Be careful not to dump or roll the shoulder forward. It's opening away. Sweep the left arm up. So this pose is Utita Parsvakanasana. That's the Sanskrit name. In English, it just translates to intense side stretch. So you want to feel a really intense stretch in the right side. Now, if you tried the block on the other side, place your left hand down. We'll take one more breath here. Inhale, we'll come up, straighten the front leg, heel toe your back foot in, get that axial extension, lift up, reach the crown of your head up, reach forward as the right hip comes back. Remember, we're not bending from the waist, we're keeping the side body long, and your torso is not in front of you, it's stacked right over your left leg. So the chest is opening to the side, right arm is up. We'll take another breath, and we'll spin the right hand down, let it catch the block. We can set the blocks aside now for a moment, keep them at the front of the mat, and we'll step it back to downward facing dog. Let's take 3 breaths here. As we push the floor away, remember you can have those knees bent because we want that low spine drawing in. And we'll start to walk the feet forward, bend your knees as much as needed. We'll set the blocks underneath our hands, feet hips distance apart for forward fold. And we'll take a couple breaths here as we cool in this forward fold stretch. Again, bend the knees. It's better to have your chest close to your thighs and have your knees bent here to really start to unlock the hamstrings. I have a great video on that if you want to check that out. We'll inhale, halfway lift, and we'll rise all the way up to stand. And exhale, we'll neutralize in our mountain pose and just stand nice and tall here. Just feel the effects of your practice so far. Okay, inhale, big sweep of your arms up. Exhale, we'll fold, we'll catch hold of the blocks and take them on their highest setting. Feet are hips distance apart. Shift your weight to your right foot and take your left leg up. Now remember our balancing tabletop, how I told you, don't open up the hip of the back leg, keep it closed. I want you to think of that here. So we really have to use the adductors and the outer hip muscles to stabilize the thighs in both of the legs in this position. So flex your left foot. You can imagine you're pushing it into a wall. And these are the legs of Warrior 3 and the torso as well. So from here, we could try to reach one arm up or maybe keep the hand in prayer. And let's see if we could find some balance. Now the blocks are there to catch you if you need them. And we'll have a tendency to lock out that right knee and maybe hyperextend it. So just be aware and allow your muscles to work rather than relying on the joints. So playing with that balance, now we'll take the blocks back with us and set our feet up for pyramid pose. So pyramid pose, your feet are a little bit more narrow, and we're not opening the hips, we're keeping them closed. So that means the hip points are facing forward on the mat, not open to the side. Take an inhale, lengthen, and exhale, fold for our pyramid pose. Back toes are turned in quite a lot, and we're looking for our sacrum to be level. Like you could take your block and balance it on your hips or your sacrum without it falling over. We'll inhale, halfway lift, bend your front leg, and we'll step the back foot forward and come all the way up to stand. And exhale to our mountain pose. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold, soft bend in your knees. Inhale, halfway lift. I'm even moving the blocks over a little bit as I have a new center of gravity here above my left leg. Keep that outer right hip wrapping down and around. Firm your inner thighs towards each other, and we'll play with our balance here, perhaps lifting one hand and then the other to heart center for your warrior three. Woo! Okay, we'll softly bend the front knee. Take your blocks with you. Inhale, long spine. So we use that axial extension a lot, don't we? And we'll exhale, fold. Good, and again, just finding that awareness in your body. We have a tendency to kind of twist and turn the pelvis here, but we really want that pelvis nice and squared. Testing it out with the block. And we'll inhale, crawl ourselves forward with the blocks, and come all the way up to stand. Return to your mountain pose. You'll take one of your blocks to the outside of your right foot. And you'll shift your weight to your right foot and think of bending your right leg like your chair pose. You'll internally rotate this time your left leg, so turn it inward slightly and land the toes. And then sit back in like that chair pose where the seat is going back. We're working on Garundasana or eagle pose. From here you can reach your arms out wide and take your left arm under and your right arm over, and we can just hug the shoulders here. Elbows in line with the shoulders. The next stage would be to flip the hands back and see if you could take your left fingers to the inside of your right palm. If not, you just keep the backs of the hands touching. So this is our eagle arm wrap, and our eagle legs. And then we could play with our balance again. From here, perhaps you could lift the left toes off of the block. Keep your sternum lifting up. We'll unravel out of the pose, and we will switch sides. So you'll take the block to the opposite outside of the foot, the left foot. We'll shift the weight to the left, rotate the right thigh in as you land the right toes on the block. Sit the seat back, open your arms wide, and from here we'll take our right arm under this time, hug the shoulders, elbows are staying away from the chest as best as you can. And if you want to move on, you're taking your right fingertips to the inside of the left palm. Reach the elbows up a little bit, sit the hips back. And we'll play with our balance. See if you could lift the right toes off. If you lose your balance, a block is right there to catch you. And we'll inhale up. And exhale, neutralize in our mountain pose. All right, we'll make our way back onto the ground. So inhale, reach your arms up, soft bend in your knees as you exhale, fold. Step back to a plank pose. Drop your knees down, chaturanga, all the way down onto your belly. You can take crocodile pose here, so stack one forearm on top of the other. Let your body just soften here for a moment. We'll work into some back bending next. So from here, we'll take our arms alongside our body. Our palms can face the body or turn them upward. Just make sure as we lift into Locust Pose, you're retracting your shoulder blades towards the spine. So we'll inhale, engage the back body, reach the fingers towards your heels, and then have like a lift in the back of your neck. So you're not cranking your neck. You don't need to look up. I'm actually looking down but forward. Shoulder blades come in, lift the heels up, and exhale, release. So as we have our forehead down, we'll start activating our hamstrings by bending the right leg a few times actively, and then we'll do that with the left leg. And so we'll come into bow pose, Dhanurasana, but we'll prop it up with the use of a blanket. So you can take your blanket and roll it up. And we'll place it right underneath the rib cage. And this just gives us some added lifted support to help us extend through the thoracic spine more, so we don't take this pose all in the lumbar spine. So I've got it at the base of my ribs, and you'll notice even here you've got a nice lift as it supports you. So we'll return to our Locust Pose. Now you can stay right here in Locust. If you can bend both legs, you can also take one at a time and be here for bow pose, and then switch. You could switch about now or in another breath or two. Or if you can grab both feet, either the tops of the feet this way, just make sure that, again, those shoulder blades are retracting in towards the spine. Or if you can grab from the inside, you'll grab there. Either way, base the skull pressing back. Get a nice stretch through your front body. If you feel any compression, come out and take a Locust Pose or Crocodile Pose. Okay, so we'll release out of that. We'll return back to our Crocodile Pose. We'll bend the legs and just windshield wiper the legs side to side. And from here, we'll roll right onto our back. Have your feet underneath your knees hips distance apart. We'll work into one final back bend here, an inversion of bridge pose. So bend your arms, keep your elbows close to your side body, and just to start, press the backs of your arms into the mat. And see if you could lift your chest up without lifting your pelvis up. So we want this opening in this posture to really come from the thoracic spine here. Now actively push your feet into the mat and engage your glute muscles to lift your pelvis up. Now oftentimes students get stuck here and their shoulders are rolling forward and you're not getting much of a stretch through the chest. So I want you to lift up and actually roll one shoulder under and then the other. Now you could stay right here. You could also grab the side edges of the mat and press down, activating your lats, which will help bring your shoulder blades down and get deeper into the pose. Or if you can clasp your hands underneath you, but not if that's rolling the shoulders forward. Only if you can do that and keep your chest nice and open. Either way, you're actively pushing your feet into the mat, engage your glute muscles, lift the pelvis up. And we will release on down. Bring your knees together, feet wide. This is called Reconstructive Pose. And just place your left hand on your heart, right hand on your belly here. Take a few deep breaths. You can close down your eyes. So after back bending, it's great to just neutralize the spine before going into other movements. From here, blink open your eyes, straighten out your left leg, hug your right knee into your chest. And we'll take the right knee all the way over to the left for Supta Matsyendrasana or supine spinal twist. So we're basically taking a big circle of the right arm, opening up the chest, the right shoulders rolling away from the chest. Get a nice stretch. Come onto your back, and we'll switch sides. Right leg straightens, left knee pulls in. The low back is flattening here to stretch your low back. And we'll take our left knee over. Notice I'm flipping my right hip so the hips are stacked right on top of each other. Open up through the chest. You can gaze up, or if it's comfortable, turn all the way towards your left arm. And I'm gently pressing my right hand to the outside of my left leg, just to deepen the stretch through the outer left hip. Inhale, return to your back. We'll bring the knees into the chest and flex your feet. Grab yogi toe lock, so index finger and middle finger wrap to the inside of your big toe, and the thumbs close that lock. Feet are flexed, knees are wide. And you could just gently rock side to side, and just eyes could be closed. We're just sending signals to the nervous system again that it's all good. We're relaxed here in our Ananda Balasana happy baby pose. If you want, you could even playfully straighten one leg and then maybe the other. And we'll bring the knees in, give them a nice little hug. You could even bring the nose up towards your knees, lift the head up. And we'll exhale, release, and we'll take a Shavasana, a final resting pose. So feet are wide, pointing to the edges of the mat, and just let your legs fully relax. So the toes might splay away. And lift your chest for a moment and allow the shoulder blades to come supported on your back in a neutral position. The palms face up, and the hands and the arms are away from the body a little bit. We want to keep the chest open. If your low back is uncomfortable, you'll roll your blanket up and place it under your knees. And if you find your chin is lifting up, you'll place a blanket underneath your head. Now from here, fully release and surrender any effort. Let all your muscles completely relax. And the support of the floor like a net, just catching you safely. As thoughts come up, you can just observe them. Maybe you see them in words or images, and you're just watching them, and then just let them pass by. And then another thought might come up, and it's okay, it's just our mind. We can't stop our mind. We can quiet it a little bit, but that comes through this practice of being mindful. So we first become aware of the thoughts, we watch them, and then we let them go. That's the practice of non-attachment. And we stop clinging to our mind. Continue to just relax. There's nothing to do but be present. We'll deepen our breath. Gently wiggle your fingers and toes. On an inhale, stretch your arms up, point your feet. Good morning stretch. You can wiggle a little bit. As you exhale, you'll pull your knees into the chest. And we'll roll to the right side and pause in the fetal position. So we go from our corpse pose into our fetal position. So it symbolizes death and then birth. So each moment an opportunity to renew ourselves, wake up. We'll push down through the left hand and push ourselves back into our easy seat. So grab your prop. Sit your hips up on your prop. I'll show you one more final seated posture that might be more comfortable. You can take a point in the foot, and you've got the top of the foot pressed down, and then you can snuggle the other foot into that little hook inside, or just below the calf muscle here. This is called Siddhasana. The knees will be a little bit lower. And just close down your eyes. Reach the crown of your head up. And just notice the difference in the quality of you, your body, your mind, your state. I invite you to take this action of mindfulness off of the mat today as you move throughout your day. Just becoming more aware. Creating more intention in your life. We'll bring our hands in gratitude to Anjali Mudra, or prayer at heart center, and take an inhale in, and exhale, bow in. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me for this beginner class. Have a look in the description box for a nice freebie I have for you, which is an alignment guidebook. I do have a full-length beginner series on my website, a course for you called Align Your Asana Beginner Yoga Series. I'll link that as well in the description box. Hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you in the next video.